how do you convert leads into clients? Well, today we're going to talk to one of the biggest realtors in the country who averages 800 and more or more sales every year, and he's going to tell you exactly what he does to convert his leads into clients, and you'll be able to do the same. Stay tuned. This episode of Keeping It Real is brought to you by Real Geeks. How many homes are you going to sell this year? Do you have the right tools? Is your website turning soft leads into interested buyers? Are you spending money on leads that aren't converting? Well, Real Geeks is your solution. Find out why agents across the country choose Real Geeks as their technology partner. Real Geeks was created by an agent for agents. They pride themselves on delivering a sales and marketing solution so that you can easily generate more business. Their agent websites are fast and built for lead conversion with a smooth search experience for your visitors. Real Geeks also includes an easy-to-use agent CRM. So once a lead signs up on your website, you can track their interest and have great follow-up conversations. Real Geeks is loaded with a ton of marketing tools to nurture your leads and increase brand awareness. Visit realgeeks.com/keepingitrealpod and find out why realtors come to Real Geeks to generate more business. Again, visit realgeeks.com/keepingitrealpod. And now, on to our show. Hello and welcome to another episode of Keeping It Real, the largest podcast made by real estate agents and for real estate agents. My name's DJ Paris. I am your guide and host through the show. And in just a moment, we're going to be speaking with top producer Mitch Ribak. Before we get to Mitch, wanted to say welcome to all of our new listeners. We get new fans every day. We appreciate you. Thanks for being here. We also want to thank everyone who is a returning listener. We love you as much too. So thank you for everyone listening. We appreciate you so much. And a couple of ways that you can help us. Leave us a review. If you're listening to us on, iTunes or I guess Apple Podcasts now, Spotify, wherever. Let us know what you think of the show. We take your suggestions and we make improvements based on these suggestions. So it really helps us as well. And then also tell a friend. Think of another agent that could benefit from hearing from top producers, maybe someone in your office, and shoot them a link over to the show. And also, please subscribe to the show if you haven't already. Search for this. You can search for us on any podcast app and hit that subscribe button. We appreciate it. And last, please check out our sponsors. They are so generous to us, and they're the reason we can do as many shows as we can. So please check out their products and services. I promise every single sponsor we have is going to help you grow your business. We handpick them very carefully. They're awesome. Please check them out. All right, guys, enough of that. Let's get to the main event. My conversation with Mitch Ribak. All right, today on the show, we have team leader, coach, author, broker, business owner, and forward thinker, Mitch Ribak. And I want to tell you more about Mitch. He has this really long and impressive career. We're going to be really learning from a lot of his wisdom today. But Mitch has been an entrepreneur since the age of 19. And check this out. This is incredible. He's owned 23 different businesses in 18 different industries. He was the first online dating service and the third paintball business in the US. Now, over the years, he's been in the restaurant business, flowers, advertising, marketing, call centers, and now real estate, among many other industries. Currently, Mitch runs Tropical Beachside, brokered by EXPs in Florida, with over 150 agents in Brevard County, Florida, and a total number of agents of 2,000 across the United States. Oh, actually, beyond the United States, not just the United States, in 7 countries, including the United States, as agents in almost every one of the U.S. states. Missing one. I'm curious which one he doesn't have. We'll have to see. One of our listeners maybe can sign up with him, and then he can get the full 50. But TRB, his company, Tropical Beachside Brokered, has been in the top 10 real estate brokerages in Brevard since the opening the doors in 2005. Tropical Beachside Realty averages 800 plus transactions per year. That is impressive. Mitch became a realtor in 2001, quickly became successful through multiple avenues, including open houses and the internet. In 2008, Mitch published his first book, 100 Mile Per Hour Marketing for Real Estate. And it quickly shot to number one in real estate books. In 2015, Mitch's second book, So You Have Your Real Estate License Now What, is selling extremely well throughout North America. And Mitch has a new book called The Big Lie, which we are going to talk about today as well. Mitch currently speaks throughout North America on a variety of subjects, including internet marketing and lead conversion, inside sales agents, mindset, open houses, sphere of influence, expectations, and how to kick off your career in real estate, among other subjects. Mitch currently lives in Merritt Island, Florida, with his wife, Jeanette. They have 4 grown children and 4 beautiful grandchildren, Lola, Henry, Cash, and Logan. I want everybody to check out Mitch's website, which is Mitch Ribak.com. That's Ribak. We'll have a link to that in the show notes. We will also have a link to all of Mitch's books and also everything Mitch related, his social media as well. So check that out. Mitch, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Very excited to
I sound almost important there. It's crazy.
Well, you are an important person, and I am excited that I always find that the most important people for the most part tend to be the most humble as well. So we're glad to have you on the show. Tell us, gosh, you've done so many things. And you've done things before real estate. I know you've done things after. You're still in real estate, and you're also owning businesses outside of real estate. But tell us, like, how and why did you get into real estate?
Desperation, broke. So like you said, I was the first online dating service, which was a lot of fun. I had AskMitch.com, which was my advice column. I had Ask Mitch the Date Doctor radio show on 45 radio stations. 6 million people a month coming to our sites. Got under contract for a ridiculous amount of money because that's what we did back in the dot-com boom, right?
Sure.
And 2 months before we were supposed to close, and I was retiring at 40 years old, the internet bubble burst, and so did my $82 million that I lost. Oh. And it was a bad couple of days. And still ran the business until we ran out of money. But after that, there was no more raising money in the internet. And so my buddy Joe is a developer in Boston. He's like, Mitch, get your real estate license. I'm like, no, I don't like realtors. Why would I do that? He's like, you'd be good at it. I go, I don't want to do that. And I literally had 3 months worth of revenue left. So I got my real estate license, and honestly, it's probably the easiest thing I've ever done besides paintball. Meaning I sold 36 homes my first year, 50 my second, 80 my third and fourth years. Then started my team, then started my brokerage. And I don't understand not selling homes because I find it very simple. So we can have some conversations about that. But ultimately, it's what you get in this business, you get what you put into it, right?
Yeah. I think it's a very fair business in that sense, where if you're willing to put in the effort, I think the path to success, well, there's many paths to success as a real estate agent, but those paths have been well trodden. They are well defined. You can read books, you can watch YouTube videos, you can hire coaches, you can join a brokerage that will assist you. It can be done, and it can be done whether you brand new to a city and you just moved and you have no sphere of influence, or you live there your whole life. I am curious for you, when you say it's the easiest thing you've done, why do you think you found it so doable? Well, I have a suspicion of why you found it easier than maybe other people would find it. And I suspect, and I want you to correct me if I'm wrong, but I suspect it's because you understand how to run businesses.
Yeah. Well, I'm an entrepreneur. So I walked in my first day of the brokerage, and my broker at the time said, just so you know, I don't do any training at all, but all I'll tell you is follow up, which, by the way, was a blessing. Yeah. So on day one, I wrote my business plan. I didn't know anything different. I didn't know realtors don't write business plans. So day one, I wrote my business plan. Day two was 9/11. So we kind of stopped that day.
Sure.
I'm really bad at infinity. So I knew my weakness was going to be contracts. So I wrote 30 fake contracts the next 3 days, 10 each day. And then I did my first open house on that Saturday. And I just talked to people. What a concept. I didn't have a sphere of influence because I didn't know. The only person I knew was my girlfriend, who's now my wife, and her mother. And she lived with me. She wasn't buying anything. So I knew I had to generate leads because every business in the world has the same sales cycle: generate leads, nurture leads, close a lead, and create a customer for life. I don't care what product you sell; it's the same.
That's the cycle for sure.
Yeah. So I knew all this stuff going in. So I had a little advantage over your average person who was a teacher or a bartender or whatever they did prior. But I knew how to generate leads. I knew I didn't know anybody. Everybody told me, don't do open house and don't do internet. Right? 2001. Sure. So open houses. I said, if you're telling me not to do them, but people are coming to me, how can that be a bad thing?
Right. If I'm getting leads.
Yeah. And the same thing with internet. My background was internet being the first online dating service. So why would I not do that? So I did. I wrote my first contract in 5 days in, and I started in September. That January I had 9 closings.
Wow.
And so one of the things I learned, and I started this from day one, not knowing to do this, but my January 1st is actually November 1st. And what I've learned is during November and December, almost every realtor I know quits.
Yeah.
They either hit their
they go into hibernation.
Well, they either hit their goal and they're stopped. I'm going to take a break. Well, they didn't hit their goal, they won't hit it, so they're going to take a break.
They take a break.
and it's the holidays. But I learned why not excel during November and December. So I started off with a massive amount of sales. And so I started my year going strong. So I didn't have any downtimes. Like if you build a really good system, you don't have downtimes. I had 2 months of my entire selling career where I didn't have sales.
It's incredible because you were always focused on lead gen and nurturing and follow up. And that can be done really any day of the year, no matter what's happening. Yeah. Maybe, obviously 9/11 probably wouldn't have been the right day, but aside from a major catastrophe like that, any day of the year, you can prospect, whether it's, and again, holidays excluded maybe, but you could even do it maybe on the holidays, but certainly you're right. We have agents, they shut down. They tend to shut down at the later part of the year. There's not as much activity, which is what they'll say. There's not as many buyers, not as many sellers. People aren't as motivated. And yet the people I know who are the most successful don't stop. They really, it's just like, okay, they just pivot and they just do different things between, November and December. And the rest of us, it's really a great time to pick up market share, I think, because so many agents are going to take it easy.
Yeah. Well, that's what they do. Is they it's kind of, again, the reason why I wrote the book, right? The Big Lie. It's kind of what we're talking. It's really slow in November, December. So that's when you rebuild your systems and get all this stuff going. And of course, then you start working in January. You have your first contract late January, February. You don't get your first paycheck till late February, March. And then I was like, as a brokerage, I was the central bank of realtors for every January and February because none of my realtors worked. And then, Mitch, can I borrow $5,000? Can I borrow $3,000? I can't pay my mortgage. And
and this really leads us into what I think, again, you're obviously a skilled salesperson, and I know that can even be sort of seen as a negative connotation these days because we think sometimes salespeople are not, maybe not the most, good feeling people that we, when we think about it, but Mitch is really what he is a great a great entrepreneur and a great lead generator. And I heard I think it was Brian Tracy said many, many years ago like 20 years ago, I heard him in a conference, and he said, just so you know, for all you business owners, prospecting solves all problems. and of course that's not absolutely true, but it's pretty close to absolutely true, because if you have, you could be a terrible realtor, you could never improve your skills. And if all you did was double the number of prospects that you have in your database, you will double your business. Assuming you would. And that's a pretty interesting thing. So of course you want to improve your skills as well, but if you just double your prospecting, you should double your income.
Well, here's what I've realized over the years. There's one commonality for every business that I've owned. And it's building the foundation. And what's the foundation? It's who's my customer and where are they?
Yeah.
That's every business I've ever run. And I didn't have that blessing here because I didn't know anybody except my girlfriend. But most of the realtors I meet with and train, they have more contacts in their cell phone than they'll ever need the rest of their life.
I could not agree with you more. And I want to just say this in case it just slipped by and people didn't hear it. What Mitch just said is, and Mitch has 2,000 agents. So this is not something he's not just like, well, it just works for Mitch. No, this is what Mitch teaches everybody. It's the reason why he's been so successful. Everybody listening right now has more contacts in their database than they probably need, because a certain percentage of those people are going to transact in real estate every single year. And you want to, of course, be the person they think about.
Yeah, and the number is actually 7 out of 100. Yeah. So we know the number. That's been around for a lot. It's been around for a lot of years. They actually say 11, but I like 7 because I like to set expectations low.
Sure.
But the reality is, so I'll give you an example. I have 2,000 contacts in my phone. That would equate to 140 sales this year. Now you have to go back and say, why does someone use you as a realtor? And there's only one reason, right? So I'll ask that. I did a class for 1,000 people recently, and I asked that. Not one person got it right. The only way. Go ahead.
Can I guess?
Yeah.
Okay, my guess is the reason why they chose you is they trust you.
Nope.
See, I'm wrong. Okay,
yeah.
Tell me why they chose you.
They only use you because you happen to be in front of them when they're thinking about buying or selling.
You know what? That is absolutely true.
That's it.
That's
and
right.
so because I stopped selling a few years ago, I really got to look at the business completely different than I have. Because I've always was working I was just as guilty. That's why, again, why I wrote the book, of working in the business, not on the business. And when I stepped back 3 years ago from selling, and by the way, I was always in front of my people twice a month, and I would get 40 to 80 calls every year to sell home. Now, I didn't sell that many because I didn't want to, right? But I got that many. The day I stopped, which was October 2021, the next year, I got 6 phone calls. This year, I've got 3. Right. Because I stopped doing it. Because I don't want to sell homes anymore. Now, I might go back and build a referral company for the fun of it because I'm an entrepreneur and I have to do stuff. But the reality is that's the reason. So once you know that, then you have to scientifically, that's a made up word, by the way, you have to figure out what's the right response. And we've tested all this for years now. We've learned if you send once a week, it's too much.
Yeah.
If you send once a month, it's not enough. And that's what we came up with, the every other week.
Yeah, it's if you are dripping on people every other week, and I imagine, does this include all forms of communication? This could be email, text, social.
That's just email.
Just email. So emailing every 2 weeks with something of value.
So there's only two things. The only 2 things you're sending them. This is so simple, by the way.
I love it.
The first email that goes out is the market update because it's different every month and people will look at it. Most realtors will send these newsletters that nobody cares about.
Right. That's true.
Do you read newsletters? If you're watching this thing, do you?
I did a presentation once called "Nobody Wants to Read Your Newsletter."
right. So the first one is that, and then the second one, 2 weeks later, is the top 10 things. I'll use my top 10 things to do in Brevard County.
Okay, this is a brilliant thing. So I'm here in Chicago, Mitch. I apologize. I don't want to steal your thunder, but Mitch is so absolutely dead on. I have a friend, Nicole. She's I wish she was one of our brokers. She isn't, but she's a friend of mine here in Chicago. We have 47,000 agents in the area. I'm sure there's a few others that do it, but the only one I know, and I know a lot of those agents, the only one that does she does top 5 things to do this weekend in the city of Chicago, in the suburbs, kind of, and I look forward to it every week because I actually plan my weekends with it. Yeah. So this is such a brilliant idea. I'm so glad you do that.
So last agent I talked to do this in her first 4 months, got 6 listings and 4 buyers out of a database of only 400.
Wow.
Okay. So again, it goes back to building your foundation, which unfortunately most brokers don't know that either.
Yeah.
Right. And nothing against brokers. It's just that owns a lot of companies, and you learn by losing millions and millions and millions of dollars how to be good.
Yeah. Well, you have to be willing to fail too, right? You have to be willing to try things and and again, it's not really a failure, but not getting the result that you wanted and then going, okay, how do I, it's the only way we learn is through mistakes, right?
Yeah. And testing is really important. So when I started out, again, being with the entrepreneurial background, I didn't do things for a week until it didn't work. My minimum test was 6 months.
Yeah.
With everything. So when I mastered open houses, and I never sold less than 24 homes in a year from open houses, always between 24 and 30 homes. I just mastered it. And I came up with different things like, oh, if I do this, this will happen. What if, then this, right? Yeah. And it became really simple and became another thing. So the blessing of not being any training, everything that I developed. Like internet lead conversion. When I was the first person doing forced registration in January 2002, I started my first website, and nobody was doing forced registration.
Right. Yeah, right. That's true.
I had so many realtors yell at me. I can't believe you make people register on your site. I'm like, I can't believe you don't.
Yeah, right. We want their information.
So they said, well, I said 15% of the people are registering. They're like, what about the other 85%? I'm like, what about them?
Yeah, they'll go somewhere else.
I'm going to maximize that 15%. Right. So it's just thinking differently. So that was, when I look back at my business over the last 23 years I've been in the business, the common thing the people that we see as successful in our business are successful selling homes, but they're not successful in business.
Yeah. There's a lot of top producers that I suspect they don't often share this, although some of them have shared this even on this show, is that they could have the highest production year ever. Maybe it's selling 80 homes or more, and they're like, I didn't make any money. And that's shocking, but it's something to think about, because maybe they're overspending or they're not managing their finances, whatever.
Well, they're not running a business. But I said earlier, we were talking before the show, is most people build a crappy job. Yes. Now they might own their crappy job. And by the way, it's not just real estate, it's everybody I know. Every small business guy doesn't really run a business, they have a crappy job.
Right.
And they get very offended when I tell them that, but it's just reality. So to me, when I look back at my friends that are selling 80 homes, when I was selling 80 homes a year, I had a crappy job. I worked 80 to 100 hours a week, and I was making good money, $200,000-$300,000 a year at the time. But the reality is, I had no life. This all came to fruition when I turned 60, and I look back at my life and I said, because we do that every 10 years in your life, right? And I look back and I said, I cannot tell you 5 things that I do with my kids when they were growing up, and that hurts.
Sure.
And there's a lot of you out there right now that are in your 30s and 40s or 20s that have little kids. That's your most important job, right? Your business is your business if you run a business, but your most important job is not to do what I did. That's why I'm preaching. It's why I wrote the book. I wrote this book in 90 days. My last 2 books took me 2 years each. Wow. I did this in 90 days because I blocked out 4 hours a day to write. Yeah. So I could make sure I get this book out, because I did a post on social media just talking about that, about how most people build crappy jobs. And I got 262 responses.
Wow.
And everybody was in pain. And so people say, Mitch, what do you teach now? I mean, I can teach all this stuff to sell houses, but really what I teach is teach how to get freedom.
Yeah, let's talk about that. So the book is The Big Lie. Let's tell us, what is the big lie?
Because the big lie is sell a lot of homes and you'll be successful. And once you do that, start a team. Yeah. And they don't tell you you're going to start a babysitting job. And then because you need to get more split because you're not making money as a team, you start a brokerage. Right. And it's all ego based. Like, I know so many of my friends who I adore who will not listen to me because I'm the guy. And by the way, when I owned my brokerage with 120 agents, I was the guy. It really feels good, right? Yeah. That doesn't pay your bills, but it feels good. Sure. So I see these guys. I'll give you an example of one of my friends. He does about 80 to 100 homes every year. He works at least 100 hours a week. Right? There's a reason why there's a hamster wheel on the cover of my book. And I said, why are you doing that? I go, how many people are you doing that are buyers? He goes, half. I go, why are you showing property? Well, my customers trust me. I go, why are you showing property? He doesn't get it. And he still doesn't get it, by the way. He won't listen, and I can't fix that. But I have a lot of people I'm fixing right now. Right now, I have 6 teams. I'm in the middle of transforming into the modern team model that we're teaching. So what I realized early on is, what are my superpowers? My superpowers, I'm really good at negotiating. I'm really, really good at finding the house, which I still enjoy doing. It's kind of fun. And I'm really, really good at making sure it closes. It doesn't mean I do all those jobs, by the way. It's just I'm really good at coordinating that. And so when I talk to my customers, because this is the pushback I get from agents, well, my customers trust me, like you said earlier. Sure. I go, yeah, but they trust you to make sure they get the best deal possible and they close. Anybody can open doors. So when I talk to a customer, I say, DJ, let me explain to you how I run my business. By the way, you'll never hear me say how I do my job. Drives me crazy, right? This is how, DJ, let me explain to you how I run my business. So my superpower is in finding your home, negotiating the best deal you'll ever get, and making sure it closes. I'm really, really good at it. By the way, I'm not really good at it. I'm really, really good at it. And I go, what I don't do is I don't show property. Because I want to make sure somebody's able to show you property when you want to see it. And anybody can open the doors, right?
Absolutely.
And I wait till they say that. Because if they don't say that, I'm going to continue on that road. They've never not said it, by the way. Everybody says yes. And I'm always saying, anybody can show it, right? They all say
because people know when they walk into a home and it's the right home, they know. They don't. Maybe they need a little push here and there, but typically speaking, they know.
Yeah, there's very little sales in real estate. The sales is prospecting, right? Like we talked about earlier. Yes. Right? That's the sales of this business. So when you really break down the numbers, and I'm a numbers guy, my average agent when I had my team was working 5 hours on a deal because I negotiated all the deals. My assistant wrote all the offers. They showed property, went to the inspection, went to a closing. Average 5 hours. On a $400,000 sale, that meant I was paying them $1,000 an hour to show houses.
Can I sign up for that? I'll do that.
Right? But that's what everybody does. And here's the worst part. They resented me because I only gave them 50%.
Right. Right. You generated the lead and you're paying them $1,000 an hour, but you're right. But you're right. They have the employee mentality.
Right. So with my modern team model, I pay just $25 an hour to show houses. Now, depending on where they are, like I'm doing 2 teams in California right now, they're paying $75 an hour to show houses.
Sure.
Right.
So adjusted for living. Yeah.
Right. But I pay $75 an hour. And instead of giving them 50%, I mean, $25 an hour, instead of giving them 50%, I give them 10% bonus. And they're happy. I'm still paying them, by the way, $250 an hour to show houses.
Right.
Right. In the end. But they're not on my team anymore. They're just agents that I contract to do tasks. Right. And my team consists of myself, an assistant, an inside sales agent, and a transaction coordinator. That's my team. No more babysitting. Now, I did have a pushback from an agent last week, which was fun. I love getting pushback. It's so much fun. So she goes, well, you're not nice to new agents then. I go, actually, they get to stay in the business now because I wouldn't have given that to them before.
Right.
Right. So now, and I'm not even talking about team leaders. I'm just talking about agents that sell 60, 70, 80 plus homes a year. Mm-hmm. And almost all those people, almost half are buyer agents, almost are buyers. And I said, actually, I get to keep them in the business because the number one reason why agents fail is they don't have cash flow.
Right.
I'm giving them cash flow. So once I explained that, she actually just signed up for my coaching program. And so what I'm teaching people is now I can run my business from anywhere. Because the reality is my assistant's been with me for 19 years. I don't have to do home searches. She does them better than I do. Right? She even negotiates better than I do now. But I don't have to work. And I can do everything I want from anywhere. If I was still selling now, I wouldn't even do listing appointments anymore. I'd pay an agent hourly plus a bonus if they got the listing. I give them $250 for the listing appointment and 10% if they got the listing.
Now, would you train them on your listing appointment method?
Exactly.
Yeah. So basically, what we're doing is creating a sort of almost gig economy sort of situation where people are doing a task, they're getting paid for a task, and they get a residual if the deal closes. You're setting the expectation to the client. Here's how it works. Here's why I do it this way. Not just, hey, you're not going to see me until the close or close. No, you're intentionally not going to see me because the most important thing is I get you the highest price. I close the deal. That's what I am best at. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to have my partners do all.
I always say my team.
My team. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think that is. Now, here's a question. You say you're no longer babysitting. However, what if an agent is late to an appointment? Maybe they're doing a home showing or they screw up. Like, how do you sort of deal with that?
Yeah, I haven't had that problem in all the times I've done it.
Wow.
Now, if it happened, then I would never use them again. So it's not like when I have an agent, I have to fire or anything. I just never use them again.
Sure.
And the only other place that I do get involved, when they do pick a house before I write the offer, I go look at the house. Yeah. Because I need my expertise to see the leak in the ceiling.
Sure.
I want to, I do that for my customers, but we're talking about 15 minutes.
Right.
A half hour maybe.
And now you have time for, and obviously now your children are grown, but you now have the time that you didn't have yet when you were younger and they were younger. And it's amazing. You've taught this to people as well. I am curious to hear, because you are going to get pushback from, anyone who's doing 80 deals a year. There's an ego associated with that because they've done it successfully, and whether they're making money or not, they're doing 80 deals a year, which is very impressive to the overall community and also their clients. Right. Yet the quality of their life, like you were saying, quality of your life wasn't as good as you wanted it to be. So you're now teaching people, what you're really teaching them how to do is have a better quality of life and make and just work not less, but more specifically on the things that you enjoy doing, and then farming out the other things and paying, a flat fee per sort of situation.
Yeah. And I'm actually talking about working less.
Yeah.
So I'm talking about selling 80 homes a year, working 30 hours a week.
Wow.
Okay. And making a lot more money. because now you're profitable.
Yeah.
So you're not paying all these people. Excuse me. So to me, again, everybody I know in this business is not successful in life. And
Yeah.
I know that damages their ego, and I'm sorry I do that. And by the way, that person's not the person I'm helping.
Right.
But I'll give you an example. Another example. I had a guy, Remax guy, I helped recently. Uh, 62 years old, so a year younger than me. 80 homes a year for the last 35 years.
Wow.
Right? Has made a ton of money.
Yeah.
Right? So he's making money.
Yeah.
And when we started talking, I said to him, never get married, never had kids, because he's that guy that, I got to make it. He couldn't do it, right?
Right. He was working too much. Yeah.
Yeah. So I said to him, I go, what are you doing? He's like, what do you mean? I go, you're going to die soon, right? He is. He's 62 years old.
Yeah.
He's dead. Well, you got 20 years left, literally 10 or 15 of quality years, right?
Sure.
I mean, I'm going to live to 142, so I plan on another 40 years of good life. But the reality is, and he started crying.
Yeah.
It was really sad because he never really took the moment to look back at your life. So here's what I want you, everybody listening to this, I want you to do this exercise. I call it the mirror to your success. And I do this every single day. I want you to, when you get off this call, I want you to go in your bathroom, look at your eye in the mirror, and look in your eyes, right? Because you cannot lie to yourself.
Right.
You can, when you're looking at, you can rationalize driving down the street,
right,
but you can't look in your eyes and lie to yourself. And I want you to ask yourself, are you really living the life you want to live?
Yeah.
And you know what the answer is going to be? It's going to be no.
Of course. Yeah.
It's going to be no, because you're missing your kids grow up. You're missing your life. And that's what this guy did. And I did it. Listen, I'm lucky I figured it out at 60 to go forward. And now I travel all the time and I go away for a month and nobody knows I'm gone. It's great because I run businesses. But I really want to save people right now. And I actually have another book I'm writing called The Big Life for Entrepreneurs that I'm going to start writing probably the next week or two, because I don't want to just help realtors. I want to help everybody. It's a shame that you're making all this money for the ones that aren't making money. It's worse if you're not making money and you're doing this. What the hell are you doing? But the ones that are making $300,000-400,000 a year, I have lots of friends of mine that are doing that, and then they're running a team or they're just a solo agent and they're working 100 hours a week. You're missing your life. Don't do it. Don't do it. It's a lot.
And Mitch, you said something at the beginning, and I just want to reiterate this, and I apologize. It might seem a bit out of order, but it's so important because I really, I always like when our listeners like take action on some of obviously the things our guests say. And you said something very, very powerful. And I just want to make sure that people are here to hear it one more time, which is Mitch's follow-up, or part of his follow-up, was sending 2 emails a month. One was a market update. And then 2 weeks later, here's what's going on in the area. Fun, cool things for the family, for yourself, whatever. That was his follow-up. And that means that those people got 26 emails a year. And the reason why Mitch said that is, do people really want to read your market outlook? Maybe, maybe not. Doesn't matter. What matters is that they're getting repeated information from you that is, it could be useful to them. It's not annoying to them. And, they're just getting that repetition. And Mitch said the whole thing is precipitated on who's right in front of them when they decide they need to sell or to buy or sell. And that's exactly right. And it's hard not to be on somebody's mind if you're hitting them every 2 weeks.
Yeah. And the thing is, so ultimately, so one of the books I wrote, which I can't tell you what's in it because it's foul. I don't swear on a podcast, but it's called The Rockstar Sales Guide. I sell it for $1 on Amazon. Rockstar Sales Guide, don't do chicken shit marketing.
Great, I love it.
I consider email marketing chicken shit marketing personally.
Sure.
But I know they're not going to pick up the phone. Yeah, honestly, I didn't pick up the phone that much.
Right.
Yeah. I'm not. I'm not. I came up with these things for myself too, right? But the reality is it's really that simple. And there's 2 things that people always ask me when I say I'm a realtor. I say, so I'm a realtor. The first thing out of the mouth is, "Oh, you're a realtor. How's the market?"
Right.
So that's why we came with the market update as being
sure.
And it changes every month, and people are interested in that. And then, like you said, the top 10 things that we do. Everybody, what's going on? So unlike the newsletter, we all get emails from people that we subscribe to at one point, and we don't unsubscribe or block them because we like them.
Yeah.
So we get these people, we never read them. I bet you I get 30 newsletters from realtors that I haven't read in years.
Sure.
Right? Because it's the same thing. People are giving stuff like, they'll give a little market update, and then they'll give how to get the best garden seeds for your garden, or how to I mean, nobody cares.
Yeah.
Nobody cares. I mean, that's just real, right? Nobody cares. And I've asked consumers that. I go, do you ever read your newsletters from realtors? Like, no. And I can see the open rates of when I was doing newsletters. Nobody looked at it, but we get about from our phone list for our phone lists, we get about a 30 to 50% open rate.
And that is a good open rate. Absolutely good. I'm a marketer too. I can appreciate. I wish I was getting those open rates.
Oh, they're great open rate. Yeah, I mean, your typical on your mass market, we get about a 15 to 20%, which is still pretty good open rate. But when we do it on our phones, because here's the thing about the phone contacts, you know them all.
Yeah.
Right. And then the messaging, and I'm going to give you a line, and I'll say this slowly as I can for a Boston guy. But this is the way we end those emails, because how you end is really important. And it's like this. As you know, as a realtor, I work by referral only, and I could really, really use your help. If you know someone looking to buy or sell a home, could you send me their contact info? Now, two things happen there. I use the word really, really, because it's very powerful psychologically.
Yep.
And I ask for their contact info, not give them my contact info.
Right.
Because they're not going to give them my contact info.
Right.
I did a class recently with 100 agents, and I don't do this class often, but it was fun. It's lead generation. It's 34 ways to generate leads. And so I said, I made everybody in the class take out their phone and go through their phone list for 8 minutes and say, hey, I'm in a class right now. We're having a contest, and I could really, really use your help. Do you know somebody looking to buy or sell a home? Same concept, right? We generated 185 leads in 8 minutes.
Unbelievable. And that's more than one, almost more than, well, it's more than one lead per person.
Well, we know that only half the people actually did it too, right?
Right, of course. So it's probably, even more than that.
I was at a bar with one of my agents recently having a drink. Yeah. Business is bad. Business is only bad if your brain is bad. Business is always good. Sure. If you're slow, it's because of you. Right. And so I said, take out your phone. And I made him do that. He texted 50 people. He got 2 responses, sold 2 homes in 2 weeks.
I'm shaking my head only because what a simple idea, what a simple concept. And look, Brian Buffini built a whole coaching business on follow-up and sending out mailers once a month. And there's more to it, obviously, is a lot of good stuff there. But that's the crux of it is, just continually, pound away in a way that's not offensive to your sphere.
Yeah. And then the only other part I would recommend on that part is pick up the phone for the connectors.
Yeah.
Like everybody knows who a connector is, right? I'm a connector. I'm sure you're a connector, right?
Yeah.
But here's the one thing I will warn you about being a connector. I have people asking me for stuff all the time, and I will help as many people in the world that want help. I love doing it. However, I get very frustrated when it's all about take, not give.
Yeah.
So never, ever end your conversation with, thanks for hooking me up. End your conversation with, what can I do for you?
Yes.
Right.
And most times people are going to go, oh, I'm good.
Always.
But hey, thanks.
Yeah.
It's kind of like what we say when somebody loses somebody, and we say, hey, so if there's anything I can do to help you through this difficult time, and 9 times out of 10 they just go, oh, thanks for saying that. No, I'm good, but if I need something, I'll reach out. They don't reach out, but they appreciate that you care enough to say, hey, I want to help you.
Yeah. I'm a huge believer. I tell everybody, my slogan for many, many years is, I don't sell you, I help you.
Yeah.
And by the way, that's the way I tell about my coaching business too. If you don't need me, that's great. Go keep working 100 hours a week and have a miserable life. And when you're 60 years old, you're going to look back at your life and go, shit, I missed my kids. I should have listened to that guy, Mitch, from 20 years ago. But the reality is if you sell from the heart and really care about people, this is an easy business. People know. People know if you're just like what they call it, commission breath, right? Yeah. People know. I don't care about money. Even when I lost $82 million, and I got in this business, I didn't do that. I said, I'm just going to help as many people as I can and be the best I can be at what I do. And I'm not that good, by the way. I'm an okay realtor. I'm not the best. I mean, I can't read, ADD. I mean, I'm an okay realtor, but I am a really good business guy.
Yeah.
And I always sell from the heart. Always from the heart.
I like the, there's I don't know if it was Jim Rome or I really would love to quote, properly cite this person who's created it, or said this, but I've heard they say, if you give other people what they want, you will get everything you want.
Yeah. Zig Ziglar.
Sorry. Yes. Correct.
Do help people get what they want. You'll get what you want. And that's how I've lived my life. Every business I've ever owned has been exactly the same thing. I was like, how do I people achieve their goals? Because then you're not selling anything.
Right.
Like I never ever, people make sure I'm an amazing salesperson. I am. I'm really, really good at it. You know why? Because I don't sell anything.
Because people don't like to be sold.
No, I do a Monday morning mastermind here in my office, and we just had this morning right before this, and they want to do script training. I go, I can't teach you scripts. I'm not a script. I do bullet points, and I talk to people like a human being.
Yeah.
And I'll say, well, if you do this today, will you do that? Uh, no, I saw who was that? Was it Brian Tracy? It was one of those guys back in the
Yeah.
80s.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that is so not me. It's like using
Yeah.
this clothes and that clothes. I'm like,
Yeah.
why not just be a human being?
The worst, the one I dislike is would you like to meet tomorrow at 2 or Friday at 3? You're like, okay, just ask them when they're free. Like it's not that big of a deal.
Right. Yeah, it was Tom Hopkins, by the way.
Yeah.
But the reality is, I'm on a mission. I have 63. I don't know how many more years I have left. In fact, my general manager is my assistant for 19 years. She's like, why are you doing all this? Why are you starting a coaching business at 63 years old? And I just don't feel like I've impacted enough people. And the mistake I made the last 20 years, I've been coaching agents for 20 years. I was coaching mostly new agents. And none of them did the work. And I'll give you an example. Last year, I did 250 coaching calls, different agents. 5 did the work.
Wow.
And they were all newer and newer. So on December 31st, I gave up new agents. So if you're new agents out there, I'm the wrong coach for you. I will not coach new agents.
Yeah.
And that's when I realized that I've been coaching the wrong people. I want to teach successful people how to be unbelievably wicked, awesome, successful.
Yeah.
Right? And that's by creating freedom and how to actually run a bit. How do you build your foundation? How do you hire the right people to leverage yourself? How do you contract agents that are paying 50%, right? And then still hating you for it? How do you do all that and run a really successful business where you're being a good dad? I have an agent locally, 28 years old. And this just proves my point here. 20 years old, a 1-year-old and a 4-year-old, working 100 hours a week when he started working with me. Now he has cancer and he may not make it. But his business is running really well right now, even though he's in the hospital on chemo.
Wow.
Because I taught him how to run a business. And so he's still going to sell 25 homes this year from being sick.
Well, and and again, I it's a horrible thing, and hopefully he makes a speedy recovery. And the fact that his business is running helps his stress level, which has to help his cancer treatments. I mean, we're talking about physical health as well.
Oh, yeah.
We're not just talking about time. Physical health is a thing, and we need to take very good care of that.
Yeah, the reason why I gave my brokerage up was that I was 56, and if you can't sell a brokerage. That's kind of a funny, the way they set the terms. I'm not going to get into that whole joke that I went through, but my dad died at 58, my mother died at 59. Almost all my relatives died in their 50s.
Wow.
And when I was 56, my stress level was through the roof, running a brokerage, as you know, and because you're chasing people to be successful as a broker, and the easiest people to bring on as a brokerage is new agents. So we spend our time doing that, even though we know 86% are going to fail. We do that, and I built my brokerage. I went through 500 agents to get 50 good ones.
Oh, I could give you even bigger numbers for me. Meaning we've had the same experience.
Yeah, well, it's what it is, and then here's the worst part, though, and you know this is because I took on all brand new agents. That was my thing. I'm going to bring on brand new agents. I'm going to change their lives, right? It took me 10 years to figure out I'm never going to change anybody's life. I changed some lives, but not a lot. And but what I realized is, and this sounds horrible. I don't mean it to. I ended up learning to base my business based on mediocrity, and that was a hard thing for me to swallow. Because I thought everybody wanted to be here.
Yeah.
But I will tell you that if I still had my brokerage today, I'd be dead. I would have been dead. It would have killed me. My dad died of heart disease from stress, and my stress level was. Well, he actually came to me. It's kind of weird, but he came to me sitting on a plane. He'd been dead for 20 years, and I knew he died from stress. And I was freaking out. I was working 100 hours a week, trying to get people from here to just that medium, right? And so I put on some headphones, flying home first class from Denver. I have to tell people I wasn't stoned because it's when they first legalized pot in Denver. And And I heard a voice. I was listening to music. I heard a voice. Your expectations are not their expectations. 3 times I heard that voice, and I took my headphones off like shit. And I realized it was my dad talking to me, saying, "You're going to die if you start living by expecting them to be like you."
Yeah.
And it was probably the biggest lesson I teach. I end all of my speaking gigs right now with this. I do a longer version of this. I know our limited time, but your expectations are the cause of almost all of your disappointment.
I could not, that is such a powerful statement. Let's say it again. Your expectations are the cause of all of the challenges you're currently facing.
Almost all your disappointments. And I'm talking about from family to customers to friends. That day, that moment I took those headphones off, I rewrote my entire business model. And I said, you know what? I'm going to be happy wherever they're happy. But I didn't just do it there. I did it my entire life. I have no expectations of my wife, no expectations of my kids. The only person expectations I control, me.
Yep.
I can control that one, but I can't want for you more than you want for you.
Yeah. And you're right. We think, oftentimes our own drive and motivation can be transferred or can be taught. And maybe if the stars aligned up, maybe it could with one person, but you'd go through several hundred, and I totally agree. This idea of not having expectations, you actually demonstrated this earlier in this conversation. I just want to highlight earlier, Mitch was talking about the very beginning, was talking about your contact list. And he says, we know that 11 out of every 100 contacts you have are going to need a realtor in the next 12 months or whatever that stat is. Mitch goes, I use 7 because I want to set the expectation low. And you even said that I want to set the expectation low and then rise above it.
Yeah.
Because if you can go, hey, if I only get 7 out of 100, I can have a really nice life. I don't have to shoot for this perfect 11, right?
Yeah. And I use it everything. So I'll give you the other way is expectations, inspections. I have not lost a deal to inspections in 14 years. And here's like, so I'll say, so DJ, let me explain to you our inspection. They're going to find 40 or 50 things wrong with the house, and the seller's not going to fix any of them.
Right.
Just so you know. So then when they have an inspection comes back with 15 or 20 things wrong, I'm like, oh, not too bad. The seller, I say the same thing. I say, look, they're going to find 40, 50 things wrong, and the buyer's going to want most of them fixed. So when they come back and they only want 4 or 5 things fixed, they say, oh, great, this is awesome.
Expectations. I love this. And what you're doing is you're really setting the table for here's what's going to happen. And then when it happens, there's fewer surprises. There's, we expected this. This is, and we're going to overshoot in some ways these expectations or undershoot depending on what, how it would benefit the relationship. And then we're going to proceed from there. And people are going to be like, oh, thank you for telling me. No, the worst thing is when a realtor has a client that goes, what's next? What are we doing next? Right? The expectation hasn't been set.
Yeah. So for your people out there listening to this, I want you to think about a couple of things. And this is really emotional part for me because really, when I tell you that I didn't see my kids grow up, I can tell you what I'm talking about. It's my biggest only regret of my life. And I want you to go home, size of the mirror thing. I want you to go home and talk to your spouse, if you have a spouse. And I want you to ask them how much they love the business. And I guarantee you they hate the business. There's a great video out there. If you ever want to really watch a good video, if you go to YouTube and type in Mitch Ribak, Jeanette, my wife's name is Jeanette. There's an interview from my wife when she saw, she hated real estate because I was working 100 hours a week and I was never present. I remember having a conversation with her once. She's talking away because my wife talks. And 10 minutes of the conversation, she's like, you haven't heard a word I said, did you? I go, no, not a word. And I knew something had to change, but I didn't. But there's the other thing I want you to think about if you have kids. Because again, there's no going back. My kids are all between 41 and 45 right now. There's no going back there, right? Probably the other reason why I only work 35 hours a week now, because I have 4 grandkids and that's my life. Right? That's way more important than all my money. But kids spell love, Time.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about being there. I'm talking about being present when you're there. So now we didn't have cell phones back then, right? In the 80s and 90s, but I had my brain. My brain was always thinking about something else. Now I go to my grandson's baseball player. I go to every baseball game. I don't miss it. I'll fly home from anywhere to be home for his baseball games, right? I might miss 1 or 2 a year, but I don't miss many. But anyways, I will tell you that the majority of parents are sitting there on their phones. Right? I don't even take my phone with me; it's in my car.
Yeah.
And same thing. I go to dinner with my wife. I don't take my phone to the restaurant.
My girlfriend and I have the same policy, but because it's so easy to want to do that, and there's always something to look at on your phone. There's always a notification. There's always an email, a text, whatever. And we say, let's not be interrupted. And we do that when we watch television. That's another thing. Television, movies, when we're talking, when we're planning our week. Yeah, no cell phones. I agree.
Yeah. And the other part to that is even your voicemail is wrong. I'm guessing. So you have to set the boundaries. Yeah. How many doctors can you call at 10 o'clock at night? Hey, my heart isn't working well, right? Not too many, right?
Yeah.
So you set the boundaries. And one of my good friends is a big luxury agent in San Diego, Pete Middleton. He's his voicemail. If you're calling after 6 o'clock, I will call you back the next business day, right? I used to tell my customers because I didn't work Sundays. I almost died in 2004, and I stopped working Sundays. At that point, I was working 7 days a week, 16-hour days. So I stopped working when that happened. I just got married 3 months earlier. And I'm like, you know what? I'm not working Sundays anymore. And I'd say, look, you have me from 8 to 8, Monday through Saturday. On Sunday's my family day. If you can't respect that, I'm the wrong realtor for you.
Yeah.
Never lost a customer. Yep. And I said, I have lots of realtors I work with. If you need to see a property, I'll show you. Now, if someone came to me with $1 million property they wanted to look at, I still show them a property on Sunday. But the reality is, I would bet you after 2004, that was July of 2004, I bet you I didn't work 5 Sundays since then.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, the book is The Big Lie, and we're going to have a link to that you can find it on Amazon. You can find it really anywhere books are sold. We're going to have a direct link to that and all of Mitch's books. Also, if you want to have Mitch speak or you're interested in his coaching, MitchRibak.com is where you go. That's RIBAK, MITCH, RIBAK.com. Mitch is dynamic. He's an amazing speaker. He's more than anything, he's proven to be successful, not just in real estate, but in many other industries by applying the exact same principles. So I know for me, it was funny, Mitch, as you were talking, what I do is I actually recruit realtors. I don't practice. I have a license, but I don't use it. But I recruit realtors, and I'm realizing I was doing some of it wrong. I am going to apply your exact principles to some of the recruiting techniques that I use, or really it's all follow up. So all the follow up techniques, and you are absolutely right. And what I'm going to be waiting for is for that broker to say, or that we call them brokers in Illinois, but that agent to say, hey, I'm a little disappointed with my firm, or if something went wrong and they screwed up, or I don't like them anymore. And again, if they're getting that regular messaging from me and phone calls as well and other things, I'm going to be the one that's most politely, aggressively, in a polite way, saying, I want you, I want you, I want you. And then whenever that opportunity comes up, hopefully they'll choose me.
I'll give you a tip on that. So one of the things, obviously that's my business too with EXP, right? So one of the things that I do that works is I give them content.
Yeah.
So I have every Monday, tip of the week.
Yep.
It goes out to my list of agents that are not with me yet. And I don't push, if you want coaching, let me know. Because my coaching, I don't charge my agents anything, right. For coaching, obviously. And so I give you 2 choices to work with. You can join me at EXP, or you can pay my coaching like everybody else does. And I'm not an aggressor. I'm sure you're way better at recruiting. Even with my brokerage, I was never a recruiter. Like I literally I never picked up the phone once. Even with EXP, I think I called 2 people. And actually I have 2,200 people now. But I think I called
Amazing.
2 people. That's not who I am. You live within who you are, and I'm a contribution guy. Let me help you get whatever you want. Maybe you'll join me, maybe you won't. And if you do, great. If you don't, that's okay too. Have a good life.
Yeah. I love it. Mitch, thank you on behalf of the audience. You gave so many, not just great actual tactical strategies, but also ways to think about your life, your business, and, taking a hard look in the mirror and saying, okay, what's not going well in my life right now? And everyone's got something that's not going well in their life at all times. The trick is to know what it is. So if you know what it is, you can work on it, but you can't work on it if you don't have time. And time is really what Mitch is aiming to give you back. You want more time with your family, your friends, yourself, volunteer opportunities, whatever you want to do in life. You need time to do that. And this is a job that that can, if you treat it like a job, it can eat up your time. If you treat it like your own business and you really run it like an entrepreneur, then hopefully it will give you back more of that time and you can continue to make a good living.
Yeah. Okay. So just one last thing. I can talk all day, by the way. I want your mindset to be you invested $250,000 to start your real estate business, not $1,500. Nobody cares about $1,500.
Right.
Okay? But if you invested $250,000, what would you do differently? I guarantee the word is everything.
Yeah. It's a great point. It's a great point. So start now. This is a great time with the NAR settlement, sort of pushing a lot of agents out because they're 1Z, 2Z agents. They're leaving. I will tell you, we have a holding company here for people that don't practice. It's for the whole state of Illinois. We're the largest one in the state. We have 1,100 agents in there, and we added 300 of them since the NAR settlement. That is how quickly people are exiting. So what a great thing for everyone listening, because you can pick up their clients. Prospect, follow up. Mitch is the guy to learn how to do all of those things and run a successful business along the way, and maybe figure out how to compensate people like Mitch was doing, where you're paying them a flat fee for various tasks. You're focusing on the things you like and that are business building for you. And Mitch is going to show you exactly how to do that. Check out the book, The Big Lie. Link to that in the show notes. Mitch, on behalf of everyone, thank you again. Really loved having you on. On behalf of Mitch and myself, we want to thank the audience. We really appreciate you. You're the reason we keep doing the show, and our numbers keep going up after 7 years. We're grateful for that. So please check out our sponsors. Please check out Mitch's book. Let him know that you loved hearing him on the show, and we will see everybody on the next episode. Thanks, Mitch.
All right. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.